attracted the most buzz, which, by the way, we mentioned this real quickly. Apparently, Buttigieg's campaign came out with a list of 400 black supporters in South Carolina. 42% of them said they didn't support him. And the others are like, who is this guy? Or something to that effect. It's crazy. So apparently Pete's taking lessons from Trump on lying, my opinion. Let me continue. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren's reasonable and anything but radical wealth tax proposal received little attention because it remains an anathema to the political establishment of the Democratic Party, as do Bernie Sanders' universal health care and climate change policies. Indeed, as evidenced by the lack of a coherent vision on the part of most candidates in Wednesday's Democratic debate in addressing the real threats and challenges facing the country and the whole planet, the Democratic Party is still unable to get its act together, and in its apparent determination to kill the left wing, it may very well end up ensuring a Trump electoral victory for a second time. And so they go into an interview with Noam Chomsky, the world's leading public intellectual and a founder of modern linguistics. He is Professor Emeritus of Linguistics at MIT, Laureate Professor of Linguistics at the University of Arizona. We all know him. Here's what Chomsky had to say about this. Quote, preliminary comment, I find it psychologically impossible to discuss the 2020 election without emphasizing as strongly as possible what is at stake. Survival, nothing less. 4 more years of Trump may spell the end of much life on Earth, including organized human society in any recognizable form. Strong words, but not strong enough. I would like to repeat the words of Raymond Pierre Humbert, a lead author of the startling Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report of October 2018, since replaced by still more dire warnings. With regard to the climate crisis, yes, it's time to panic. We are in deep trouble. These should be the defining terms of the 2020 election. Environmental catastrophe is an imminent threat. Much of the world is taking steps to deal with it. Inadequate, but at least something. Trump and the political organization he now virtually owns are taking steps too, to exacerbate the crisis. Some may recall George W. Bush's infamous call, "Bring it on," directed to Iraqis preparing to attack us in what happened to be their country, but put that aside. Bush later apologized with regret, but Trump is proud to outdo him, calling on the rising seas and burning earth to put an end to the human experiment. In fairness, we should add that Trump is also pursuing ways to avert the environmental threat, destroy us first by nuclear war. That is the simple logic of his demolition of the Reagan-Gorbachev Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, followed at once by testing of missiles that violate it. The threat to dismantle the Eisenhower-initiated Open Skies Treaty, and finally, New START. These final blows to the arms control regime constitute, very simply, a call to other nations to join us in creating new and even more horrendous weapons to destroy us all, to the unrestrained applause of weapons manufacturers. Those are the highly likely consequences of more of Trump and the party that grovels at his feet, terrified of his adoring base. They provide the essential background for the 2020 elections. Turning finally to your question, the Electoral College is not the most serious anachronism. Even worse is the radically undemocratic Senate. These problems are severe and remediable only by constitutional amendment that is sure to be blocked by the small states. All of this is part of more fundamental problems. A variety of demographic, structural, and policy factors are converging to a situation where a small minority, white, rural, Christian, traditional, older, fearful of losing their America, will be able to dominate the political system. These considerations raise further questions about worship of a document from centuries ago that was in some ways progressive by the standards of its day, but would very likely lead to rejection of an appeal for membership in the European Union by a country bound by it. End of quote.
Yeah, you know, the debate last night had a champion, in my opinion, response from Michael Moore, our Michigan fellow progressive.
Mm-hmm.
There was the proverbial establishment commentary afterwards, of which I'm glad Michael Moore was sitting on the panel. And during that panel discussion Wednesday night, following the 2020 Democratic presidential debate in Atlanta, filmmaker Michael Moore pushed back against MSNBC pundits for suggesting that a moderate candidate would be more likely to defeat President Donald Trump. How many times have you heard that mantra now? And said the majority of U.S. voters favor progressive solutions to the nation's most pressing issues, from health care to the climate crisis. I am the center. I am the mainstream now of the Democratic Party. The majority of Americans agree with me and Bernie on all the issues. Now, mind you, we did not hear President Obama on the panel because he was too damn busy running around making speeches to Wall Street groups for $400,000 a whack. Two of them last week. And as we pointed out, he was too damn busy maintaining that, unlike Michael Moore, you better not leave the moderate message of the Democratic debates and the Democratic Party. Don't you get too liberal on us here, he warned. And Darren tackled that BS last week. But Moore hit him right again in the soft spot, saying, I am the center, and the majority of people, the mainstream people, agree with me and Bernie. And who was on this panel? Well, it had the typical, I think it was Claire McCaskill.
Yep, she was on there. I recognized
Joy
her ugly
Ann
face.
Reed, regular warmed-up leftovers. And if I'm not mistaken, former Republican Steve Schmidt. But Michael threw a left hook and then a right cross. The average Democrat and the average American does not like the health insurance company, Moore said. They hate Aetna. They hate Cigna and United Healthcare and on and on. Whether it's health care for all, whether it's climate change, minimum wage, mass incarceration, go down the list, continued Moore. So the center is now more of these things, and this is what we believe. Moore went on to call out former Vice President Joe Biden. Absolutely, Michael, for claiming during the Atlanta debate that the U.S. public wants to cling to a private health insurance industry that places profits above the needs of patients. So Moore put his finger in Biden's eye, who had the temerity to say, can you imagine this, that we need to cling to health insurance? Thank you, Joe. Says who? Who you're actually talking to about this, Moore asked. Yes, they want assurance that whatever we have with the new Medicare for all is essentially just a transfer from what they have with their good union health care. Fine, we'll give them that insurance. But the average Democrat and the average American does not like the health insurance companies. End of story. They hate them. And we've got people who get their sugar daddy payments, and Biden's one of them, from Aetna, from Spectrum, from all of these healthcare companies, and they're not going to break the Vena relationship. It's that clear. We've said on this show for months, the absolute litmus test of what a progressive is, what a progressive really is whether or not they stand for Medicare for all, universal health coverage. Yep. And yet they drop like flies. Biden's dropped a long time ago. You can put in Amy Klobuchar. You can put her in there.
Buttigieg.
You can put them all in there. That is the spray that kills those bugs. Just spray it on their head. Do you believe in Medicare for all? And of course, someone will stand up and say, yes, they do, and then they'll backpedal that 24 hours later. Yeah, but nonetheless, you have one. You have one. You have only one who Darren said 45 minutes ago he was going to vote for, and so will I.
Yep. Before we get on to our segment for today, I want to hit this. This is Marty Johnson writing for The Hill. By the way, where's that article that you read that from?
That's CNN.
Oh, that's also CNN? Okay.
No. It's Common Dreams. I'm sorry.
Okay. And we'll be going to another Common Dreams article in just a moment here. But I have this from The Hill. This is Marty Johnson writing on November 16th. The hashtag Too Far Left trended on Twitter Saturday morning in part because of comments made Friday by former President Obama.
There you go.
Obama spoke at a fundraising meeting Friday, November 15th, and warned donors of the danger of the 2020 Democratic primary field moving too far to the left. Quote, even as we push the envelope and we are bold in our vision, we also have to be rooted in reality. The average American doesn't think we have to completely tear down the system and remake it. End of quote. Really? Where are you getting your polling figures from? Single-payer universal health care has over 50% approval in this country. Even among Republicans, I saw polling, 55% of Republicans believe in single-payer universal health care, 73% of Democrats. Over 50% of this country, regardless of left, right, center, believe in single-payer universal health care. As Dusty Rhodes said in 1987, Obama, it's time to stop BSing the people in this country.
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here today. After failing to prosecute the bankers, do you remember this? America, can you wake up from amnesia? Do you remember that there wasn't one banker prosecuted in the greatest collapse? Obama cashes in with Wall Street speeches. We don't have time to read it. Go to Common Dreams. Yep. One after another. $400,000 a pop.
Yep. Let me continue. The former president's message didn't sit well with left-leaning Democrats. Former Hillary Clinton aide Peter Dow tweeted Saturday morning, quote, saying Americans are moderate than these wild leftists is basically conceding that the far-right propaganda machine has prevailed, end of quote. Because what the too far left movement wants is fairness and equality, health care, education, dignity for all people, not just oligarchs. That's also Peter Dow, a direct quote from him. Dow didn't stop there, however, writing in another tweet, quote, I'm hashtag too far left because I want kids to be safe in school. I'm hashtag too far left because I want people to live in dignity. I'm hashtag too far left because I seek justice and equality. I'm hashtag too far left because I think healthcare and housing are human rights. End of quote. That tweet caught fire with more than 9,000 likes and almost 3,000 retweets. Dow also retweeted other tweets that used the hashtag too far left, and it quickly became the #1 trending hashtag on Twitter in the United States. Count me in on that. I'm too far left too. I am sick and tired of the rich running this country into the ground. They've done it for decades. It ends. It needs to end.
Darren, what you see is the establishment going to their home run hitter. They needed Obama to come out and slow the progressive surge. They see Biden, they see Bernie tied supposedly in the national polls. Probably not even close. Bernie's probably way ahead. But nonetheless, roll out these old, craggy establishment hacks. Get the home run hitter himself, Obama, who was busy, like I said, speaking to his Wall Street buddies. Yep. After not doing a damn thing against the corruption that we saw in his own administration. I ask you, Darren, one simple question. Where are we at on this morning, the 23rd of November?
22nd.
1 year away from the election. Do we really think the progressive surge has got a chance in front of the cannons, the establishment cannons, out of the media, out of Wall Street, with the billions of dollars? I said this and I'll say it again. If they have to, they will kill Bernie Sanders. If they really thought he's going to get the nomination, there'll be an airplane crash right into his home. There'll be some weird virus that he picks up off a Coca-Cola bottle somewhere. Somehow they'll kill him. I say it's virtually impossible. Other than millions and millions of protesters, there's no way.
I was just going to say, if the people start rising up like they have been in Bolivia, like in Hong Kong, like in Lebanon, like in Iraq, in France, Spain, maybe he has got a chance. But as long as these rich mothers are running things, you won't see it. It's just like Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it.
And folks, that club is a bought-out bunch of operatives from top to bottom. From top to bottom. The Democratic Party is bought and paid for. If you can't realize it, if you don't realize it, you're going to keep falling for the same old game plan.
Yep.
Well, we got to beat Trump. Biden looks like the guy to beat him. I heard it on the radio last week. He can go toe-to-toe. He can go toe-to-toe with Biden. Because he's more conservative than Biden or than Trump. So, yeah, I suppose he could go. But if content means anything, if issues mean anything, you got one man. that will annihilate Trump.
Exactly.